me?
Do I feel lucky? Well, do you, punk?
Good morning, Vietnam! I love the smell of napalm in the morning.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
I feel the need for speed.
I wish I knew how to quit you.
Love means never having to say you're sorry.
You do. You'll shoot your eye out, kid.
What's up, film fans? Happy Sunday. Welcome to episode 296, and welcome to The Mummy on another brand new episode of the Cine-Men movie podcast. I'm your host, Juan. I'm joined by the cast, the crew, the priests, the messiahs. Ed?
What's up, folks? How y'all doing?
Zach?
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
Man, it feels like a month from Sunday since we've talked to each other. I think,
Yes.
It has.
yeah.
It has.
But we're sitting here, we're getting ready to discuss The Mummy, have a little fun conversation all about Brendan Fraser, and what a better way to talk about The Mummy than on Mummy's Day, right?
There you go.
Yeah, hanging out. I'm sure there's a few mummies out there that probably need to be wrapped, tortured, and bined and thrown underground.
Whoa.
But what we're doing today, we are all
We're not.
about what?
We're not human sacrificing mothers, if that's what you think we're gonna do.
Mummies.
Maybe if they start with an ox in the moon.
There you go. But guys, how's the week been for everybody? Ed, you doing okay? Good week?
Yeah, it's been so far so good, man. I can't complain about it. Yeah.
Zach?
Yourself?
I'm good.
I'm good. Doing pretty good. It's one of those things where it's just like, we do the show, tomorrow's Monday, and then I talk to my coworkers, the next thing you know, it's Friday, and it's like, okay, we're doing another show. So it's just cycle and cycles.
Hey, it's the cycle and the gift that keeps on giving,
Us. Yes.
Yeah, us. If you guys did not check out last week's episode, you guys can go back and listen to our hatred-filled conversation for the Night of the Living Dead. You can go listen to it wherever you listen to podcasts. All those links are on the social media pages, facebook.com/The Cine-Men Movie Podcast. The Instagram is all one word, The Cine-Men Movie Podcast. X, or formerly known as Twitter, is @Cinnamon405. And then the old school way, live like you're in 2000 again. You can email us at cinemen921@gmail.com. Go in there and send you a nice little girthy email about how we were wrong about Night of the Living Dead, or how now we're probably going to just blow a splooge all over Brendan Fraser and The Mummy. So I think it just depends on the day and age you probably grew up with the movie. I watched a movie yesterday for the first time that I didn't grow up with, and I kind of liked it. So that's what we're going to get into now, is some recent watches. I'm talking about The Monster Squad. I've never seen it. It was recommended to me by Jay. It's out of print, believe it or not, but I did find the 4K copy, which got released a few years ago. I thought it was a pretty good, fun movie. It was an hour and 20 minutes in and out. It kind of feels like The Goonies. Nice 80s, just a good 80s feel. Rewatched Twister, just because the trailer for Twister's got me in the mood, bro. It got me in the mood for the suck zone.
Hey,
so I went and
first
checked it out.
don't hold back. You got into the mood because we've had a couple close calls here in the past couple weeks.
That's true,
sir.
That's
we're
true.
living tornado. Okay.
The other day at work, it did feel like a scene from Twister.
We're living the nighters.
Yeah, what'd you call me?
The nighters.
But anyway, I'm still going on my Star Wars binge as well. Then I checked out The Mummy for today. I did check out The Greatest Roast of All Time featuring Tom Brady. And let me tell you, I haven't laughed that hard in a while. It's a pretty good roast. It's 3 hours long, but it was pretty funny.
Man,
So,
all I know is Foxborough didn't give him a job.
no, but it's funny. But if I had to recommend anything, check out The Mummy, which we're talking about today. I believe it's on the Peacock. Monster Squad, if you can go out and find it. I don't know if it's streaming anywhere. And then, check out the Roast of All Time. The Greatest Roast of All Time with Tom Brady. It's pretty funny. So, Zach, what about you? What'd you check out? Anything?
Yeah, rewatched the Mummy. Well, we're gonna talk about the Mummy here in a little bit. I had like a apes binge. I rewatched Rise, Dawn, War for the Planet of the Apes. All those are on Hulu right now. Like I said, I've sent out in the group text. I think that might be a perfect trilogy. Those three films by themselves. Then I went and saw Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, and it's right up there. It's right up there with those other three films. Good story. The visual effect. I feel like these visual effects get better and better with each of these films. And saw it on the biggest screen possible, and it was a fun experience. Highly recommend it. So
How was
check
the
out
theater?
Kingdom and the
How was the
how many
theater
was in the
crowd?
theater? Sat in the IMAX, so maybe about 100, maybe 100 people.
An IMAX, and it was only 100 people.
Yep.
Mm.
So yeah, maybe they're saving their money to go see If this weekend. I don't know. So yeah, go check out Kingdom, check out the Rise, War, and Dawn on Hulu, and check out the Mummy. What about you, Ed?
Zach, before we get into Ed's little, I wanted to bring this up to you because we don't do movie news anymore. But what do you think about Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings movies being redone with Andy Serkis coming back?
Like, are they just like remaking
They're
them, or
yeah,
just like
it's a complete reboot. Peter Jackson's going to be producing, and Andy
Andy
Serkis is
Serkis
coming back to.
directed?
No, Andy Serkis is coming back to play Gollum.
Oh wow.
I think I saw that it's in pre-production and it should hit either next year or the year after.
I don't know. I mean, those three films are fine. Why do we need to remake that stuff? So we have like an animated Lord of the Rings movie coming out this December, like Lord of the Rings, the Riders of Rohirrim or whatever it is. It's an animated film. So
The Return of the Vibrating Ring. Ed, what about you? What'd you check out this week?
Man, honestly, I for some reason went and I just watched the Netflix Wednesday season again.
Those are okay. I thought you've seen it before.
You know, I don't know why, but for some reason it just called me back. That's really it.
I found a really good the complete series of Game of Thrones on Blu-ray. Somebody had a nice little collection going for it on the Facebook Marketplace, and I picked it up again. So I think I'm gonna. I've only seen the first 3 seasons, so I think I'm gonna finally just dig into it and just let Game of Thrones just have its way with me this weekend. So rather this week. So see what everybody's complaining about with the last 2 seasons.
Yeah.
Why not me?
Man, nah.
No,
you know what I say? You know what I tell people? Just shut up and enjoy what you're fucking watching.
Fuck Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah,
that's what we say.
But yeah, it was kind of a short week as far as watching things. I have a lot to get onto my list. So yeah, if you guys forgot, this Wednesday, May 15th, we're coming back with some horror movies, and we will be talking about Saw 10. This Wednesday, 7:30, May 15th, right here, Swap Productions YouTube channel, Friday the 14th podcast. Me and the guys will uncover and talk all about Saw 10 this Wednesday, May 15th. So, but yeah. And don't forget, guys, episode 300 will be another live podcast. Worst case scenario, if we can't stream a live podcast, we will at least be there at the theater, at the movies, hanging out with you and watching 300. So come hang out with us, dig into some giveaways. We'll even let you fondle Edward's glasses. He's got a spare set of glasses he'll just let you play with, and while he sits there, and we'll talk to you. So should be a fun Saturday night, June the 8th. So Zach will be there. We're gonna bring in some Burger King. We're gonna have a Whopper eating contest between the 3 of us. So we'll see who gets done with the Whopper first. I think it'll be fun. It'll be a double Texas Whopper with bacon. So You guys didn't know you were signing up for that, but yes, you signed up for it. I already signed you up for it. So let's dig into um, the Mummy. I think we had talked about this a few years ago, trying to do the Mummy, but it kind of got penciled in and then it just kind of went away, I think. But overall, I think this should hopefully be a fun conversation. Zach, didn't you go see this in the movies this week?
About 2 weeks ago, yeah. Saw it for its 25th anniversary. Yep.
Nice. So, with a May 4th, 1999 release date, the budget was $80 million. It grossed a little over $417 million at the box office. IMDb has it at 7.1, Rotten Tomatoes at 62%. The Metascore is 48%, while Letterboxd is at a 3.5. And a pair of ancient excuse me, an English librarian called Evelyn becomes interested in starting her own digging site near the ancient city of Hamanatra. She gains the help of Rick O'Connell after saving him from his death. When Evie and her brother Jonathan and Rick are unaware of the other groups of explorers interested in the same dig, unfortunately everyone in this group ends up unleashing a curse which has been laid upon the dead high priest Imhotep. Now the mummy is awake and it's back. Where did this come from? The mummy is awake and it's time, and it's going to take a lot more than guns to send him back to where he came from. I need to go back and stay off of IMDb, huh?
I was like,
starring Brendan.
That's the most elongated plot summary I've ever heard.
Starring Brendan Fraser, Rachel Weisz, John Hannah, Arnold Volasu, Kevin O'Connor, directed by Stephen Sommers. We also have some fun, interesting side characters in there, like Jonathan Hyde is in there, Eric Avari. Guys, 25 years, The Mummy. Doesn't feel like it's been 25 years. I remember seeing this when I was a little 10-year-old shitbag in a movie theater. Zach, we'll start with you.
Mm-hmm. I was real hyped for this as a kid. I was really into like ancient Egypt and mummification and all that stuff.
Jesus.
Yeah, I saw this in the theater when it came out and was just completely blown away by it. I actually remember this was at the Regal Crossroads when it was like brand new. So it was like a big event type thing. And then my mom took me over to Toys R Us, which was like literally like across the street, not far from it. And like they had like mummy toys and all that type of stuff. It's always been one that I gravitated towards. I'm sure we'll talk about the sequels later on in the episode. And then, when I found out it was the 25th anniversary this year, I was like, dude, we got to do this. And sure enough, they re-released it in the theaters a couple weeks ago and checked it out on the big screen again. And it was a blast. I'm not gonna lie. This is one of my favorite childhood movies. So, what about you guys?
Ed?
Man, the first time I seen this was probably in 2000, 2001. Gotta love this movie. I mean, honestly, it was practically an instant classic. There's so much to like about this movie. Like Zach said, I was intrigued in Egyptian times myself as a kid. Actually, I back in third grade recreated hieroglyphics and actually got to write my name in hieroglyphics for that matter. And different small stuff like that. Nothing big, nothing that I could transcribe today, nowhere near. But I thought that was kind of a cool thing. And then lo and behold, watch this movie, find it really cool, and then now we're doing it. So yeah, man, gotta be a fan of this movie somehow, some way. So
this movie was forced upon me. It was always on the house. It was always in the, it was always on the tube, and it's one of those things that like it was just kind of embedded in me. The Mummy, and then the second one came out, and then you have the series that spawned an animated series, and So the Mummy was always constantly playing, and then if it wasn't the Mummy around this time, like anything Brendan Fraser did, he could do no wrong. So this movie was always just there for me, and I think it had like a 4K release a few years ago. Even now, with its 25th anniversary, there's still not like a proper release for it. Um, but yeah, we'll get into everything Mummy here soon, and at least for me, the movie itself is just I don't know how you can really dig deeper into the Mummy than what maybe we might get ready to do.
I do want to point out one fact.
Oh, a fact?
Yes. This movie went on to go ahead and later on in the series, at least, of a different title, but same. Basically, it spawned the career of an international movie icon giant we know today that has gone across sports and entertainment himself for years. So
that's on Edward's own podcast tomorrow when he talks The Mummy Returns.
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Let's talk about some of the stuff that the actual Mummy spawned off. This is obviously a remake from 1932, and it's not just a reboot remake. It's an actual, like, almost not really scene by scene, but it's just a direct remake. The same Emotep story, and the love of his life. He's coming back and doing this for the love of somebody else. So in some way, it's kind of a dark, romantic action adventure movie. So not only did it spawn off, two other films, it spawned off a Scorpion King film, and then the Mummy animated TV series. Man, like the first 4 years of the new millennium, it was just completely taken over by the Mummy, Brendan Fraser, and just everything Steven Summers tried to do with this franchise. Looking back at it, Zach, probably I'll ask you this. Ed, if you want to chime in, you can. Zach, you're more of the 1930s. You love those Universal monster movies.
Yeah.
Is this probably the only remake from those monster movies that probably has just done it better than any other remake that's probably been put out? Because I tell you what, I didn't go back. I didn't go back and watch the 1932's Mummy before this, but I remember watching it, last year before, and to me, though, to me, give or take, you got to be in the mood for those, because some of those 1932 movies, that the Mummy was kind of just god awful rewatching it, honestly.
Yeah. No, I think I'm trying to think of all this is probably the best version of those movies, honestly. Dracula's been done like a lot, and there's not really. I think a lot of people like the Francis Ford Coppola version. Frankenstein has had some bad ones. The Wolf, I like the Wolfman with Benicio del Toro. That one wasn't too bad. I think, but to answer your question, I think this is the best adaptation version of what those films tried to do, or what those films are. It's action, it's adventure, it's a lot more horror. It's I'm not gonna say jump scares. It feels right, because like
a lot of comedy in this too. Going back and rewatching.
Yeah. There's a lot of Jonathan Evie's brother, played by John Hannah. He's definitely the comedic relief of the movie. I mean, even from the opening sequence of like Imhotep's prologue, and like how he, fell in love with the high priestess Anaxamun, and like how he got mummified and all that. It sets it up for a really good, just action adventure tale.
Even the guy who plays Benny, that guy he provides he provides a lot of comical relief in the movie too.
Yeah.
What's cool about this is that
even though you would punch him in the face.
What's cool about this is that Imhotep and Anaxamun were actual real people. Way back then. And they got it pretty dang right. Anaxamun was the daughter of an Egyptian pharaoh, as well as the wife of none other than Tutankhamun. Imhotep actually, I know, right? Imhotep, she was his wife up until his death, actually, at, if I'm not mistaken, 19 years old. Now, on top of that, with Emotep, he is actually credited with doing like stone dressed, like inventing methods of stone dressed building capabilities and different stuff like that, such as columns or using columns in oh my god, architecture.
That's also a good thing. Like with the movies
Yeah.
early in the 2000s, like they were pretty spot on with trying to like, let's not only make up a good story, but let's find an actual like
person.
yeah to build the story off of. I also got to appreciate Stephen Summers wanting to redo the movie that he fell in love with, which was the 1932's Mummy, because of the story, the love story, and Emotep and all that.
No.
Well, and something if you watch the special features on the Blu-ray or 4K, he wanted to do something different. He didn't want a mummy wrapped in bandages, cliche of that. He wanted to be like a real, just nasty looking creature that you could fear. And the first time you see Emotep, like literally skin skeleton, like he literally looks like a walking corpse. It's pretty like damn, like it looks cool. And honestly, the visuals, I don't know if you want to get into that yet. The visuals 25 years later, they still hold up, honestly. I mean, this movie still looks really good.
They look okay. They're, I mean, I wouldn't say that some of the visuals have like exceeded expectations, but for a movie that was made in just 1999, I would probably say like there's some pretty rough spots visually, at least going back and watching this one. And then I don't want to carp on it too much, but going back and looking at even some of the scenes from like The Mummy Returns with the Scorpion King. So like some of them.
Well, The Mummy Returns looks worse, honestly.
Which is
worse
weird
than the first one.
But which is weird because they brought back the exact same visual crew and everything for that movie. Yeah. But I mean, like there were some scenes that are maybe just a little splotchy or a little rough, and like maybe some of the bug scenes or definitely towards the ending where Brendan Fraser's like. Just he's fighting off those. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean.
Now the sand, all the sand stuff looks really, really good.
The sand with the face in it. Yeah. Yeah. Well, the ones that really got to me were the ancient, like at the beginning of the movie, the ancient Egyptian background. It's like that looks a little, I'll admit, that does look dated. So.
And Zach, you mentioned you mentioned the 4K special features, and other than new director's commentary, like it's again nothing. I think that's going to be some of the complaints that we have celebrating some of these anniversaries this year, like whether this being the 25th or the Crow's 40th. No, not 40th. The Crow's 20th 30th. Anniversary. Yeah, 30th is coming up, and that one kind of looks a little splotchy. Yeah, it's like, where were these? You're spending all this money on these special features or these 40th anniversaries, and there's like nothing new. And I'm like, come on now, what do you spend this money on?
Twister, the Extreme is getting a 4K release. It's still a 4K release, and like you said, like I don't understand why some movies do. This one, Twister's going to have like a brand new feature with the director on it. I mean. Why do that and not do the Mummy?
Is it an actual feature or is it just commentary?
No, it's a whole feature. I don't know. I guess it's him talking about the movie. I guess. So yeah, let's talk about Brendan Fraser. I mean, at this point, he had done Cine-Men and all these different kind of. I don't want to say mid-level films, School Ties and all this stuff, and this is kind of his quote-unquote coming out party, and he got huge, after The Mummy, and people wanting him for everything.
Yeah, he kind of became more of a Hollywood icon from this movie, for that matter. Before it looked, and I mean, unfortunately, and I'm not saying this is a bad position to be in. But he seemed to be one of like Sandler's buddies, and he might still be, and that can't be a bad thing for you, for that matter. But with this movie, he kind of established himself as a leading man, and that he was capable of taking on that lead role and preserving it. And just being that guy, maybe not box office killers, but definitely a big film.
Yeah.
Rachel Weisz, kind of the same thing, I think, with her, because they complement each other very well in this, in my opinion.
I think ironically, Brendan Fraser and Rachel Weisz has won Oscars after this movie. Like Brendan Fraser won for The Whale, and I think Rachel Weisz won for The Constant Gardener. I think, but they both won. They have both won Oscars since this movie, so that's cool.
Yeah, but yeah, Brendan Fraser, had some unfortunate stuff happen to him, like we've discussed in the past on the one that we did over The Whale. But it's kind of a person like him that you can go ahead and say he was on top of the world around this time, and through 2009, 2011, somewhere in that area.
2000. The last big movie I remember him seeing it before he kind of disappeared was like
Journey to the Center of the Earth.
Yeah, okay. That was 2000. Oh, it was Journey to the Center of the Earth, and he actually had The Mummy, Tomb of the Dragon Emperor the same year. So that was the last time I saw him before The Whale.
So what was that like? It was 2008. Okay.
Yeah.
Huh.
And then the same year that The Mummy came out, he had Blast from the Past, and he also had Dudley Do Right. So, and just remember, like, this is the guy. Like 2 years before this, he was George of the Jungle. Like, just keep that in mind.
Don't.
No, that's not a hypocrite.
That's like
that's not a criticism. You just have to remember, like,
things, man. It's one of my favorite things.
That's not a criticism. I'm just like, oh yeah, like 2 years before this, he was George of the Jungle.
I was just like, damn, man. No, that was kind of his Ace Ventura in a way, kind of.
Well, I've heard a lot of people say, if you put Harrison Ford in a Brendan Fraser's role, this could have easily been another Indiana Jones. It's like an Indiana Jones type horror type stuff, action adventure.
That's the thing. That's the thing that doesn't. It doesn't cross into my brain so much as to where how some people can enjoy and like The Mummy, but yet they trash and they don't. Oh, I can't get into Indiana Jones movies, and I'm like, it's the exact same thing. It's a demonistic past or something in the form of a treasure that he's going after that comes back and gets him. There's a love lust along the way. There's comedy relief, and it's just like, I agree with Zach. Yeah, this could have been one of those kind of movies, an Indiana Jones movie. Zach is frozen.
Yeah, I mean, it is the same kind of tropes and all that good stuff, but some people like Earl Grey and some people like chamomile. Like some people, it's just not their tea.
It's the same tea.
No, it's the same kind of drink, but it's not necessarily the same exact flavor. Some people like the Egyptian. Some people like the
You've never seen an Indiana Jones movie, have you?
Yes. Yes. I mean, he was sick during the sword fight, and he just shot him. So yeah. Oh man, I was like, "Are you there?" But nah, man, to me, I fell in love with this just because I like the Egyptian part of it, and then with Rachel Weisz's character Evelyn or Evie, she delved into that. She swam in the deep end so quick with that, and I mean, obviously, set in the 20s, you didn't have the internet, obviously. You had the library that was the internet back then. So a lot of it was learned in books. You want to think a lot of it was better researched, for that matter, but that's kind of left and right.
Did Did you? Are you talking about the actor or you're talking about the character?
No, character.
Do
I'm
you
saying
like that it was still like set in the 30s, or do you kind of wish, hey, maybe it should have just been? What if it? Why couldn't it just been updated?
it could have, and I mean, don't get me wrong, like this kind of, for some reason in my head, I thought it was in the 90s
Yeah.
that it was set in. So when I went back and watched it this week, it was like, oh shit, this is 1926. What? It's like this wasn't 96, kind of thing. So, understandably, like I'm glad I watched it because instead of thinking it was in the 90s, I knew it was set in the 20s. But it is what it is. I mean, some of us have different thoughts and opinions and all that.
Zach,
So
what do you think? I just asked Edward if did you still appreciate the movie being set in the 30s, or would you have been like, oh, if this could have been a movie updated to where it was like, hey, let's take an adventure and put it in the 90s?
On this rewatch, yeah, I appreciate that it's still set during like how the last one, the original was in the 30s, the 20s.
26.
Yeah, it gives it more of a, I don't know what the right word. I don't want to say
Authentic.
plausibility, but it's authentic. Yeah, it feels right.
So
did you guys already talk about the Tom Cruise one?
No. So okay, with the 1932 film, is that one set in the 20s?
Is it set in the 20s? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
I believe so. It's made in the 30s, so I'm assuming it's set either in the 30s or in the 20s. I can look real quick. Hold on 1 second. Keep
so,
talking.
I mean, with that, it feels authentic either way, just because, like, it.
Yeah.
If I'm not
it's
mistaken,
still set in the 20s. The original, the 30s one is set in the 20s. Yeah.
So cool. Kept that same kind of vibe and day going, but with that being said, like if I'm not mistaken, a lot of stuff was going on from the late 1800s to the early or to the mid 30s for Egyptian times of looking through
how the movie the original movie came to be was King Tut's tomb was excavated, I think a couple of years before that. And someone, they got sick and they died, and they came up with the Mummy's curse, and that's how the Universal monster movie, The Mummy, came to be. Essentially,
that makes sense. Okay, that's pretty fair. But I mean, see, don't get me wrong. One little thing that happens in real life can offset all kinds of things that happen in movie culture, or Hollywood culture, or whatever have you. And I mean that right there in itself is very, very cool. Very good points. Very good little consistencies throughout, because I mean, in almost any mummy film, you have the same kind of, well, don't disturb that, because if you do,
Yeah. Well, the funny thing is, I'm looking at this right here. It says, whilst less profitable than I'm having a stroke right now. The predecessors like Dracula and Frankenstein, The Mummy was still a commercial and critical success, and became a cultural influential, inspiring several sequels, spin-offs, remakes, and reimaginings. So,
and I will almost bet that the reason, or a part of the reason it was commercially successful, was because of Tutankhamun's or discovery, and all that good stuff. So, I think that's amazing right there, because.
Let's talk about the trilogy for a minute, because the first film, I think all of us, well, I'm assuming all three of us are saying it's a great film. It knows what it is. It's fun. It's action packed. It has horror elements. It keeps it a little bit of a mystery about how quote unquote Imhotep regenerates. We get an answer to that kind of like in the second movie. The second movie I still like. It's fun. I remember seeing that one in the theater. It's still a little worldwide adventure. It kind of expands past Egypt. But the third one, The Mummy, Tomb of the Dragon Emperor, it is garbage, truly.
And I think,
why would you?
Unfortunately,
if you call it if it's a mummy movie, why would you leave Egypt? Why would you do that?
Well, also, unfortunately, you can start seeing some of the outlandish and wild things that they're just throwing on the wall to see if it can stick in the second movie.
Yeah.
For some reason, it just works a little bit better. Than the third one just kind of doesn't help that they didn't get to recast Rachel Wise in it either.
Yeah. That
But
hurts it.
the third one just has no taste in it whatsoever. I think it was just
And
it was ultimately just a cash grab and a payday for
yeah.
Brendan Fraser and everybody else involved.
Do you know what they were going to do if there was a fourth one? Which there's been talk since Brendan Fraser's resurgence from The Whale. There's talk about he might do another one. If they had done a fourth one after the third one, they were going to go to, I think, Peru, and Antonio Banderas was going to be the mummy. They was going to do something like that, that would have been a cool idea, honestly.
Puss wrapped up.
Oh, by the way, just to do a little throwback, I still have the original VHS of the mummy.
Oh, cool.
So
you need to rewind it, sir. Please be kind and rewind.
Hey, listen, fool. It is rewind. Thank you very much. My grandmother, I was doing extensive lab work during that time, and she bought this for me since I was doing good.
And look how it has upgraded ever so.
I know. Why haven't we got like a single steelbook Blu-ray of at least the first movie?
For those who don't know what Be Kind Rewind or what it means to rewind a VHS tape, it needed to be rewound to restart the movie. The black side is actually the film. The white side is so it can go on that side to go ahead and keep itself in the casing, and you can watch it as you rewind it again.
You know, Zach, looking at just some of the cover art and some of the stuff about the third Mummy movie, Tomb of the Dragon Emperor, let's not discredit how badass that probably could have been if executed right.
Oh yeah,
because you're going back to ancient China times, and let's not forget you have Jet Li as the corpse in this movie, and it's
Dragon
like,
Emperor.
Man, it could have been Michelle Yeoh was in it as well. This movie did have,
it had potential.
It had secret ingredients for a very good movie. But I feel like if you hate on the third one, you also have to kind of look back and just be like, man, the second one is maybe not as good as we probably thought it originally was. And I watched all three of these movies last year or the year before when this nice little booklet came out, and it had all three of them on 4K. I think The Mummy Returns would have worked a lot better, and I know I'm going to get flack for this, if The Rock had not been in it. I don't think we needed the Scorpion King storyline / element in this movie. And looking back at it now, you can definitely tell and see the only reason it's in there is to spawn off another movie. That's all it's in there for. Didn't need to be in there at all. If you go back and look at it, you can take about 30 minutes away or even 20 minutes away from The Mummy Returns and just kind of be like, okay, this is another good revenge movie for Imhotep. Didn't need Scorpion King in it at all. So I just thought I'd give my 2 cents on that.
I agree with that.
Some other side characters that I want to kind of talk about is Jonathan Hyde, who plays Alan Chamberlain. He is famously known for the dad in Jumanji.
Yep.
But he's also just an interesting, I think he's one of the most interesting characters in this movie that kind of doesn't get a lot of people talked about. A, he's a great actor. B, he's leading the Americans. He is pretty much Rachel Weisz to the Americans, what she is to O'Connell. And he's dressed up like Imhotep from the 1932 movie.
Yeah, he is.
He's in the exact same. Yeah, he's in the exact same apparel, and obviously that's a throwback, but I enjoy him as an actor, whatever he's side piece in. What do you guys think of him in this movie? You got the famous scene from him sitting down with the grasshoppers all over him, saying, "What
have we done to this world, or opened up on this world?"
Yeah.
I mean, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, with the exception of O'Connell, Evie, and Jonathan, the rest of them are, kill counts, essentially. All the Americans, obviously, Imhotep uses to regenerate, and Jonathan Hyde's character. I kind of agree with you. Out of all those, I would have liked to have a little bit more backstory about at least him. But it's mummy fodder essentially. You gotta have some people die in this type of movie. So let's just have them do it, not give them any story.
But he's definitely one of the most interesting. Also, I think Oded Fehr, who plays Ardeth, he comes back for the sequel as well. He's one of the they call him the hung guy. What are
The
they?
Magi, yeah.
The Magi. He's hung.
He's the hunger.
That hung motherfucker.
He is a cool character, though. I will say, like him is just kind of like a secret society that protects over Egypt to prevent him from being resurrected.
And I like how they just keep pushing in your face throughout the whole movie about how, Evelyn, Rick, sometimes even Jonathan. Jonathan really does want to be rich off of it, but they're really in it for, the science, the history. Yeah. And then you have obviously the people that they introduce you to that are in it for the gold or the fame. One thing that kind of didn't. It's cool seeing back, but a lot of the stuff. Going back and watching it this past time around and just having that movie mode mind that I do, the bugs in this movie kind of irritated me a little bit. I don't know.
Why is that?
Call them as I was little.
Yeah, well, again, when there's a bunch of them, they just don't look good CGI wise. And then there is a few off points when they're running away from the bugs and Jonathan and Rick jump over into the left.
Yeah.
I'm like, if those bugs just jump like that whole jump scene doesn't make any sense because they're essentially dead. You know what I mean?
I mean, they're wrong, but at the same time,
and then Evelyn didn't even jump; she just went over into the scooter of the bugs and just like, I'm like, oh fuck! If the bugs even noticed that she went over there, the movie would have been over. It'd have been called the 45-minute mummy.
So. The scarabs right there were, a type of flesh-eating, insect. But I mean, with that, you've got a clear, probably 2 to 3 feet a difference on the pillars compared to that walkway.
Yeah. But
it more irritated me on the way back when the Americans were starting to go that they didn't jump back onto the platforms rather than keep running. And because it was just like, okay, it was like 30 feet of them and done.
So in the movie, it states that not only did the mummy get resurrected, but he also brings the 10 plagues with him.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah.
It was pretty interesting thought looking back at it all these years. Like, what else? Not only do you get him, but you get all this stuff with it. Were the bugs part of like one of the plagues or what's?
It depends. There was a few different bugs. The scarabs just came alive because of him.
Yeah, when he's resurrected and the locusts come, that was one of the plagues. Yeah,
so
we still have locusts around today.
But no, those were swarms and swarms and swarms of locusts, and I think it was a different type of locust for that matter, if I'm not mistaken. Because I mean, they're wrong. The locusts we have here don't really do much other than buzz. But
and then he brought back did he bring back like the Spanish flu with him or something?
The flu.
Yes.
You also got what was it?
Spanish flu.
Turning water in the blood and all that. Different stuff like that.
What was the meteorites? Which one was that one?
What was that? Fire or whatever will fall from the heavens.
Oh, fire. Yeah, that's right.
Because it was basically balls of fire. It wasn't even meteorites. Because you see the one people that were in the courtyard screaming while they were running off when he came and got her. He's like, oh, time to go, and they start running and, people just start catching fire.
Well, I know they're not meteorites, but I always thought when I was younger, it was like, when I was young, when I saw this, it always threw me off. Like, why is there meteorites randomly falling from the sky? But it's fire falling from the sky. Yeah, that's
the sequel where Bruce Willis comes and they got to go up and drill a hole to prevent an asteroid from coming down on the mummy.
The Mummy Armageddon.
See, look, that's already a better
Yippee-ki-yay.
storyline than the third one.
Let's go.
Um,
And it's got
So-
Bruce Willis.
What do you guys think of the actual actor who played Emotep, Arnold Vosloo? Obviously, he doesn't have many lines. I'm not wanting to say he's there just for looks, but he is your Emotep, and a lot of people did say that's one of the things that they kind of enjoyed about this movie was he actually did play a pretty good bad guy.
One
I
of the
actually think I
things.
learned. He also learned. I think he actually learned ancient Egyptian to do this.
Enough of it to go ahead and get
Say a couple
for
lines.
that matter. Because I mean, it sounds really good how he says it and all that good stuff. It sounds, authentic. It sounds as good as I could think of it.
I mean, he is a CGI creation. I don't really know how exactly they were able to pull that off. I'd have to rewatch the documentaries, but he looks just horrific. His skull is almost eaten out. You see his brain, like lung. You can see just like smoker's lungs, and like all the wrappings are just like disintegrated and like melted off. And
hey, they said he was still juicy.
Yeah, that's a great line. He's still juicy.
I heard your guy was still juicy. Like, ew. First off.
Yeah.
But no, that was good because I mean this is essentially just like two factions that didn't mean to do one and the same thing, and then someone else read a book from one of the factions and gone from there.
No harm from reading a book. Nothing's.
So she read the book that awoke him, but is it because of the Americans taking the jars? That's why he was really after them.
Yes, that's why he was after the Americans, because on the curse on the box that had his organs and the Book of the Dead, it's whoever opens this, he's going to come after you basically to restore his organs, blah, blah, blah. So that's why he went after them. The only reason he spared Evie was because
she looks like
her
an Ox on
the Moon. He was going to use the body to go ahead and resurrect an Ox on the Moon and go from there.
Johnny's going to put a curse on his Blu-rays when he dies. Like, anyone steals my Blu-rays, I'm coming back to haunt you.
Anyone watches these without my permission.
So kind of like what Rob Zombie said, use my body to keep you alive. That's what he wanted to do with Evie's body there.
Well, no, with the American cowboys' bodies.
It's so funny if you go onto YouTube and look up the Mr. Burns, like he's the first, quote unquote first American to go. There's like so many quotes like he didn't deserve this. He was the nicest one in the group. Like justice for Mr. Burns. Like, damn, I didn't know people had that strong of a reaction.
I mean, it's true though. He was the nicest one of the. He
literally got his eyes and tongue ripped out. I mean, like, damn, if that's not. And then you
not
get
only
sucked
that,
dry.
but then
I mean, that's just
say,
like you get sucked dry, and you're just like a raisin essentially. It's just crazy.
He got mummified.
Sucked him like a bad habit.
Why?
This movie do you guys think that this movie has been maybe overdone or a little too outlandish, or do you think this movie doesn't get enough props for what it might have accomplished?
Honestly, I don't think this movie gets enough props because this movie came out like a week before Phantom Menace, and everyone was just like hyped up about that. And it's just, I mean, this movie was #1 at the box office that opening weekend, but when you have a Star Wars movie the next week, nobody cares. You're just
it's not even that. It's the first Star Wars movie in almost
20 years.
20
years. Yeah.
So imagine if a Star Wars movie came out when we were in our 50s.
Which I'm sure will happen. Watch.
More than likely, but still. But no, I mean, I agree. I don't think it gets enough. Just because this movie, yes, it may not hold up to the test of time that all of these things are so, perfect in even today's society. And, today's aren't going to hold up in 10, 20, 30 years either. But actually probably not even 5. But the movie's script play, or all that was so done so well and updated to a pretty damn good degree that it was just that
Well,
Well,
good.
then emo. I don't know. Emotep is afraid of cats as well.
It explained that
Oh yeah.
they're the guardians of the underworld,
the underworld,
basically.
yeah.
You know, so
Until it becomes,
essentially,
So on one hand, he was trying to get some puss. On the other hand,
but he's scared of puss.
he was terrified of it. And
Yeah.
where does Antonio Banderas meet up in all this? We'll find out.
Who knows?
Wouldn't that be that's a hell of a movie, isn't it?
in birds.
The Mummy and Puss in Boots.
Something else I really like about this movie is the score by Jerry Goldsmith. I think it's the perfect equivalent of like ancient Egyptian and like action adventure score. It really does
Dude,
work.
seriously, adventurous as hell. But
It's the perfect Indiana Jones score.
It is. That's what I'm saying, man. This could be another Indiana Jones. You think we can get Spielberg and Harrison Ford to come back and do that, remake this as
There you go.
Indiana Jones?
Didn't in one of the Indiana Jones movies? Didn't they mess around with Egypt?
Wasn't Raiders? Wasn't Raiders?
Might have
Isn't
been
it
Raiders.
Raiders?
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
The
felt like
Lost
that
Ark.
feels like a mummy movie.
Kind
Yeah.
of.
Speaking of mummy movies that came out recently, the Tom Cruise mummy movie.
You know,
Yeah,
okay,
but-
so like, I was defending that movie for a very long time. I was like, it's not as bad as everyone made it out to be.
I don't think it is.
But thinking it, well, okay, there you go. There's your defender. The biggest problem with that movie is that it's so worried about setting up a universe. It's not worried about making like its own story.
That's
honestly.
true. But that's not any flack to anybody involved. Like I really do think, even with the female mummy and all that stuff in between, like again, just like the third one, it had potential, but you're so
Yeah.
worried about turning everything into an MCU that you forget what you
Yeah.
what you have in front of you. You have
Do you remember that
Tom
scene
Cruise.
in that? You remember that scene in the movie where like it's like a vault and it has like Dracula's fangs and Frankenstein's like bolt and the creature from the Black Lagoon's hands. Like, I was like, oh my god! But like, at the end of the day, it's like that. Why are we doing? Oh, and it had didn't it have the Book of the Dead from this movie? It, like, what the girl uses it as like a weapon. I was like, oh, so is this like a multiverse universe type thing?
Which you never know. It could be. Everything's still under Universal.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
but it's just the biggest problem with that movie is that script is so terrible. It really is.
What'd you guys think about the ending of this? Throughout the whole movie, they're talking about how the Book of the Gold can like kill him. Essentially, that's what they do, but it just makes him mortal, and then you get the
Immortal, yeah.
yeah, you get the sword to the gut, and bada boom, he's done and over with.
And then he takes a bath that literally like disintegrates him.
Yeah, I kind of enjoy the fact that when you think it's over, Benny puts the bag of gold on that little booby trap thing, and that makes
Oh,
everybody's day even worse.
it literally sets off the score for the movie. It's called the Sand Volcano. It literally sets off a sand volcano. So
And could you imagine,
And-
like, even though they weren't in it for the money or the treasure, but if he doesn't do that, everybody goes home super happy and super wealthy.
I like, yeah, and it's a. I think John Hannah does a really good job in that character because it's like, well, I guess we go empty-handed home again, and then Rick's like, no, I'm not going home empty-handed.
He's got his hands full of your sister's cried.
So
Uncomfortable plane ride home for Jonathan.
You
I don't know,
know,
maybe he gets down and dirty with the camel. I don't know.
Oh. So overall, where do we see the Mummy going from here? Do you guys see Universal putting in more money to dish out a singular movie, or do you think they got something in the back of their pocket with Brendan Fraser and maybe a requel?
honestly, man, if they really want to go ahead and do a Universal Monsters, why not retire Brendan Fraser? Oh my God,
Brendan Fraser.
why not retire his character and do a fourth Mummy and open up your MCU while introducing maybe his, like, I don't know, grandson or something like that into it, that is, in his late 20s, early 30s, it's doing it now.
Definitely don't want to see that. We just got done talking about how they don't need to focus on like an MCU fucking universe.
I know, but I'm saying if they did, I think that would probably be one of the better, just because you're taking the old, due to that Mummy redoing the Mummy, Boris Karloff, the Mummy, into the Brendan Fraser Mummy, into whatever they're doing now.
Universe.
You know what I mean?
Listen,
if they do the universe,
I would just like to see a, it's Universal. Blumhouse is somewhere in the back pocket. Just do what Blumhouse did with Halloween, and just do like a requel. 2 and 3 don't even need to fucking exist. Just do a direct sequel from the original Mummy.
Yeah, that'd be cool. And do it like, instead of worrying about doing a multiverse, do something like the Invisible Man, do the Mummy, but do something completely different with it. I mean, I don't know what you would do, but yeah. Listen, I've been on record and saying, look, at Universal Monsters MCU thing, that'd be awesome, because I mean, I love those movies. I don't know how exactly. I guess Van Helsing would be the connecting tissue between all that, him fighting monsters or whatever. But I don't know. I mean, that,
or
if done right in the right hands, it could be a cool universe.
Or just do it as a book, a chapter book kind of thing, and I don't know. It's every story is a new chapter in the same book kind of deal. The monster book of the monsters.
Do the Mummy, Frankenstein, Dracula, and then Van Helsing.
Well, I would say I would argue the Mummy,
Wolfman,
Dracula, Wolfman, and Frankenstein. Those need to be the first 4 if done. Then Van Helsing can go ahead and wrap up with that into like Jekyll and Hyde, and like maybe the Bride of Frankenstein, something to the tune of similar things like that. I don't know.
And then Creature from the Black Lagoon, and then they bring back Brendan Fraser.
Didn't they do a Van Helsing movie that had no universe tied to it?
Yeah, I mean,
Hugh Jackman. Yeah.
Back in like 2001, 2004, somewhere around there.
I think that movie's like 20 years old now. Let me look.
I need to check it out. I have it, but I don't think I've ever seen it all the way through.
Oh,
honestly, gotta love it.
Yeah, that movie's 20 years old this year. Wow. And it's from the same director too. That's funny.
Stephen Sommers.
That's funny.
Yeah.
But I gotta love that one too.
What's the difference between that one and the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen with Sean Connery? Doesn't he fight off monsters?
The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen is it's based off a comic book, I think, or a graphic novel. Van Helsing is literally using all the different Universal monsters like Dracula, Frankenstein, the Wolfman,
Jekyll and Hyde.
So, yeah. They don't have I think the only one that's not in there is the Mummy, to be honest.
Well, because it was essentially a battle between the Wolfman and Dracula, essentially.
Yeah.
Favorite scene from The Mummy from 1999?
Oh. The sandstorm is great. I guess I'll go. The sandstorm is great, where you see the face. The one that really sticks out to me is the one after he like kills Mr. Burns, and like Rick is like, "We are in so much trouble," and he starts shooting the Mummy. And he's just like impenetrable, and it's like pieces of skin are falling off him and everything. And then he sees the cat. He just like disintegrates into sand out the window. That one, that's always like stuck in my head for that one.
There's 2 separate parts of this movie. You got the first hour of them of everybody getting involved and getting together, and then she opens up the Book of the Dead, and then you have the second half of the movie. So I'm gonna pick a tale of each scenes. Honestly, I think the scene of them getting to Hamunaptra, of just the chase scene,
the race,
the race. You get them on the boat. You get Rick and Benny going back and forth. So I really do like just them trying to get there. I wasn't a big fan of going and getting Rick from being. I didn't like how he was captured and how it looked like he aged like it looked like a decade in between, the time that he got arrested till the time that he got hung. I didn't like that. But I do enjoy everything after he gets the attempted hanging, if that makes sense.
You know what's so funny is like every time I see this movie, I forget. I care about the mummy stuff so much. I forget about that boat sequence, and that boat sequence is actually pretty good.
Good boat sequence, yep. And then I would probably have to say, like, once he gets dug up and he's out there, I really like the scenes where he's like partial mummy, more human, but yeah, he's got like a spot right here that's open.
Yeah.
You also got to remember the scene where the sand goes through the keyhole. I think that's an amazing scene. So, if I had to pick just one favorite god awful, like amazing scene though, that's just like stands.
God awful, amazing.
God, it's everything in between. Man, you know what? The opening setup of him kissing and getting caught all the way up until he got mummified. That scene where he gets mummified is horrific, especially when you hear the screams and stuff in the background, and then you have the opening title of The Mummy. That opening sets the tone for the entire story. So
yeah, I agree.
Ed?
There's a few that come up, and I mean, obviously it's the one with the cat. That one's hilarious. You've got the scene where they finally find Evie in the like behind trenches of the Hominoptera. And Imhotep just sprang to life like minutes ago, and he's trying to find. He found eyes and a tongue at least.
Oh
and
yeah.
Evie and him are talking.
You see the mummy for the first time.
And he screams at Rick, and Rick's first thought is scream back.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just like establish dominance, scream back. Like kind of psychopath are you, dude? I mean, a lot of the stuff that really soars out to me is just small stuff. Jonathan pretending to be one of the zombies, for that matter. It's but I've got to say, when they do the perfect lineup of all the light gathering mirrors, that to me is the coolest scene right there, just because first, just the use of it all, and if that is part of the ancient technology that they had, that is awesome. The knowledge of the use of it all,
as Rick says, hey, that is a neat trick.
But I mean, at the same time, it's just cool that, it's just cool for all that good stuff to go and be recognized and be used, and whether that was real or not, go from there.
Something else I'll compliment is the production design of the film, where it looks like actual ancient Egyptian corridors and hallways and cobwebs all over the place and sand. It really looks like they went there and filmed it. I think they filmed this in Morocco actually, but it was a lot of attention to detail. I appreciate it.
And then I've got to say, with Kevin O'Connor, and he does it really, really well with this scene. His best scene, I would say, is when he's got all the necklaces and he's just saying prayers and scriptures and all that.
He's using all the different religions,
yeah. And it ends up on
Judaism,
Jewish, star, or the Star of David, and Imhotep just automatically goes, "Oh, the language of the slaves," and it's just like, oh shit, okay,
he's like, I get you to do whatever I want you to do.
Well, he's like, oh, I have a use for you. It's like that's Benny's saving grace right there.
Yeah,
and it's just
and
like,
I like how like everyone's hauling ass is like, let's just get out of here, and then you see the hand pop out of the sand,
dude,
like,
and that
wow, it's on.
Yeah. Star rating 1 out of 5. Ed, we'll start with you.
4.5. I really like this movie. I'm always up to watch it. Like I said, the only thing that kind of caught me off guard a little bit was I didn't remember that it was in the 20s. I thought it was a bit newer than that, but that's just me. So yeah, that would be the only thing that kind of caught me by surprise. But other than that, gotta love this movie.
Fun popcorn movie that ages. It's overall a fun experience. Classic in some eyes, but I'm gonna give this a 3.5. Zach?
I guess I'll be the highest of them all. I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 5. Really love this movie. Childhood classic. Obviously I still have the VHS copies, so clearly it means something. It's one that we were talking about theater experiences. That really could have been in my top 5, to be honest. I remember seeing that and seeing it in the paper, and the poster itself, the face of the sand face over the pyramids. That to me is just a great design.
For all you kids out there that don't understand what he was just mentioning, back in the day when we still had newspapers that you read all the time, movies would actually have a section in there and it would say coming out then. You wouldn't get it on Facebook or search up showtimes from Google and all that. So
you could search up showtimes on calling the theater.
The poster right there. Yeah, you could do that. That poster right there, I think it says it all. That's all you need. That's all you need to know. So
next week, Zach, what are we talking about?
We're talking about another Sand movie. Honestly, we're doing the 2024 movie Dune Part 2. So we'll be wrapping up the Dune saga. Supposedly. I saw it in the theater. This is Ed and Johnny. Is this your first time seeing it?
Yep.
Okay.
Are you guys excited, or you're like, ugh, another girthy 2.5 hour movie?
I'm gonna rewatch the first one here soon, and then I'll probably watch the second one next weekend before we do the episode. So I'm honestly kind of looking forward to it. The original Dune that came out a few years ago, I was not looking forward to it, but it was obviously good.
Way better than the 85 version.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So I'm excited for next week.
Almost because of the 85 version, we almost didn't do the new version of it. Almost killed it.
and then Zach, we're already talking about the end of the month. What are we in April with, or what are we in May with?
Guys, we're ending May with our yearly Memorial Day episode. This year, we're talking about Apocalypse Now. Very lovable, very classic war film. But will it be classic to us? Well, you'll have to find out.
It's for the kids.
Obviously. If it was a kid version of this, it'd be like 2 minutes and 20 seconds long.
I love the smell of Play-Doh in the morning.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, guys. I think that'll do it for this week. Don't forget, Wednesday, May 15th, 7:30 p.m., we're going to talk Saw 10 on the opening episode season of Friday the 14th podcast. Don't forget, next week, join us for an all-new review as we talk about Dune Part 2 here on an all-new episode of the Cine-Men Movie Podcast. Until then, guys, have a good week, and we'll see you next Sunday.
A Docs in the Moon.